Hey folks, welcome to this Kubernetes SIG Docs meeting. Today is April 30th, 2024. I'm your host today. My name is Ray Lahano. I'm one of the co-chairs for Kubernetes SIG Docs. Other co-chair is on, or we have two other co-chairs as well, Natalie Vlaka, who's on the call, and Divya Mohan. This is a little too late for Divya's time zone. So I'm going to share my screen here and do some housekeeping items. Before we start, I have the link to the agenda in the on the Zoom chat as well. So it's little housekeeping items. This meeting abides by the CNCF Code of Conduct, which boils down to just to be kind to everyone. And this meeting is recorded and uploaded to YouTube. Other notes as well. I'll get to that later. But okay, so we'd like to start off with new contributors. So if there's any folks who are new to this meeting or it's been a while, feel free to come off mute and introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Sylvester Carolan. I'm new. My first call, SIG Docs.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, been in IT a long time. Yeah, just joining in to see how things go.
Nice.
Sure.
Welcome.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Any other new folks or folks who haven't joined in a while would like to introduce themselves? All right. I see Shannon. I think Shannon's been a reviewer for SIG Docs and contributor to SIG Docs quite a while, and Shannon can't has some mic issues, but is typing in the agenda. So welcome, Shannon, to the Zoom call. All right, anyone else? All right, I'm going to move on to a little more housekeeping or updates, reminders. So we have a PR wrangler signed every week to wrangle PRs. So this week's PR wrangler is Qiming Tang, and I have Qiming's GitHub handle on the agenda. So feel free to ping Qiming if you have any PRs that you would like to be that needs attention or that needs a review this week. With the Qiming, we have a PR wrangler shadow program as well for those who want to learn how to review PRs. So Vanilla Musunuru is the PR Wrangler Shadow for this week. And next week's PR Wrangler is Karen Bradshaw. And the following week's PR Wrangler, so about 3 weeks from now, it's Mickey Boxell. There's a link to the PR Wrangler shifts as well. So any SIG Docs approvers, please take a look at the PR Wrangler wiki to know when your shift is coming up. We also have an issue wrangler. An issue wrangler is someone who wrangles issues. We have lots of issues that needs to be triaged and needs to be looked at, assigned to the appropriate SIG. So this week's issue wrangler is Deepesh Rawat. Deepesh is also an approver for PRs. And next week's issue wrangler is Divya. There's also a link to the agenda to the issue wrangler shift or wiki page as well. All right, last housekeeping item. It's about code of conduct. So if you notice any violations of code of conduct at events or meetings or Slack or GitHub comments, please you could reach out to the Kubernetes Code of Conduct Committee, and you could do it anonymously as well. You could do it via email, or also there's other methods of communication. All right, let's move on to the first agenda topic. And so release 1.30 was released very recently. Thank you, Kat, who was the release lead for 1.30. So today we're going to use some part of the meeting as the docs retro for 1.30. And I have a few folks on the call here. Drew, who was the 1.30 docs lead. And Princess Egbuna is the 131 docs lead. So we like to, and also Abby McCarthy is incoming 131 comms lead, and Kristen Martin is the 130 comms lead. So we like to do the docs retro with SIG docs and just to review what went well, what didn't go well, and what to change or keep for next time. So starting off with things that went well, the first thing I put on was I thought the new docs feed and new exception requirement, if docs deadlines aren't met, went well. I think that helped move folks to meet the deadlines, especially having to make an exception request if they did not. I see a +1 on the agenda as well from Drew, but any comments or questions about that?
Since we are currently putting together the release schedule for 131, was that at an acceptable point in the release for y'all, or do you need it moved back further?
I thought it was a good point, but would like to have Drew's insight on like if were there a lot of outstanding PRs or I'm sorry, outstanding enhancements that were close to the docs freeze deadline that we were trying to get through meet that deadline.
If I recall, there were about 10 at that point. But we worked very quickly within a span of a few days. I think it was like the few business days we had right after KubeCon, our team worked to reduce that down to 1, and that one filed the exception.
Nice. And we had a KubeCon in the middle of it as well. So
yeah, that was
Right.
going to be my point, that like
Yeah.
it was on us to be better about managing that around KubeCon, so we in docs can just be better about and like keeping the date like top of mind.
I don't expect that to be like as consistently a problem. This KubeCon was really, really early. It was about 6 weeks earlier than it usually is. So it fell in an awkward spot in the release cycle where we had to shuffle a whole bunch of stuff around, and it wasn't one of the things that I could justify moving a week earlier.
yeah, totally agree. Eh, Any other comments, questions? All right, next item that went well is from Drew. Drew, I'll let you introduce this one.
Yeah, so I think the dock freeze went really well, and it gave some extra capacity on the release docs team towards the end of the cycle. So that's potentially something that can benefit. Maybe that capacity could be used for like helping with the blogs or the release notes or something. But that was a positive. Yeah, that was definitely a benefit to this new process.
Nice. All right, any comments or questions for Drew? All right, Natalie, you have the next last item for things that went well.
Yeah, I wanted to say that the status updates were really good. And I know this was the first release that we had an actual checklist in the handbook now of how to do that. Felt like we were really well communicated with, kept abreast of everything that was going on, and that when things weren't going well, people felt okay to give that update too, which hasn't happened in a cycle or two. So that felt really good. And I just wanted to big props to the docs team for like the great updates.
Yeah, +1 for me. It's like um from as representing as a reviewer, I like to know if things are not going well sooner than later. So that always helps out. All right, any comments or questions for Natalie? All right, Drew has the last one. I'm wanting to thank everyone for being responsive to tag groups from release docs.
Yeah, so towards the end when we were all trying to get the right labels and get it cleared, folks were really responsive when we would add like the tag for SIG docs owners or reviewers. So I just really appreciate all of your help.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your time and contributions to being the 130 release for docs lead.
My pleasure.
All right. Just moved on to things that didn't go so well. So this is just good to highlight. It's not, it just highlights what things that might be things that we might need to change later. So I have the first one is at the end of release. I believe the 130 milestone was deleted instead of closed, and so I recreated that 130 milestone, and Drew went in and reassigned those PRs to the 130 milestone. So any comments or questions on this one?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. This could have been an accident on my part. If so, my apologies. I felt it prudent to go through and make sure we had all the milestone reapplied on anything nonetheless.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
just
the
want to
good
say,
thing. Go
oh,
ahead.
sorry. I was just going to say, yeah, regardless, like, you know, it was fixed. So I think that's the way here. So please don't worry. Like it's been resolved, and I agree. Going back and having the milestones on was good to do.
Yeah, I was gonna state the same. All right, Natalie. Next item is yours.
Yeah, so this is from the comms side. So as it like, firstly, full disclosure, I was a comms shadow for this release, and part of the reason of being a shadow in the program was to kind of see where SIG Docs needs to help out more or less or so on. And in comms we can definitely do a bit of helping out. So we discovered that there was an issue with one of the feature blogs in terms of the relevance for it being a feature blog versus not. And a decision was taken out of the comms team's hands, and I just don't think that went well. And we are looking at doing a couple of improvements in future for the blog team and for release comms in terms of introducing a new label that could potentially help with some of those things. But just around decision making, I think it's something that I know I've already spoken to Kat about, you know, giving a lot more agency to the release sub team leads of being able to own those certain areas, and we in docs need to be better at letting that ownership happen.
Got a question. Who ended up making those decisions if it wasn't the comps team?
It would have been Tim, the owner of the blog.
Okay. Okay. And what type of label, or what is the label that we're looking to introduce?
So this was introduced as this was kind of spoken by this come out of a meeting that I had with Kristen separately after to get the feedback from her, where she had mentioned that she and Tim had a discussion around how can feature blogs generally be better tracked for the blog team, so that things like missing communication about a certain feature blog needing to be published or not doesn't happen in future. And creating a new feature blog label was identified as a fix that could help out there, because that'll help with filtering and automation and so on. Another request was to create a separate board to track feature blogs, which is not going to happen. Yeah, thanks. Good.
I'll veto that one. Not a chance.
Yeah. And so this is, I think, creating a new label that the comms team can easily bring into their workflow of tagging feature blogs with the right label could be a really big help to avoid any confusion of what's a feature blog and what's not, if there is some. If the label is on, it's a feature blog. So I feel like that could be a good way to provide clarity and protection for mistakes and issues as well.
Similarly, there was an ask/suggestion from Jordan Liggett for a tech LGTM tag, because there was a little bit of confusion over the difference between an LGTM and a tech LGTM with respect to both the blog and documentation. I don't hate that as a suggestion personally. I think there will be some confusion to begin with like getting tech leads and SIG leads to use it correctly. But I don't know, it's a nice to have. I can live without it, but I agree that it would be useful.
Yeah, I feel like that would be harder to roll out quickly versus like blog tag. Yeah, but I also like the idea. My one concern would be that I wouldn't want people to differentiate when to use it. We either blanket use it for everything, including the release, or don't.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, we do definitely have other doc PRs that do require tech LGTM, so we could definitely use it for. Um, um, I like the idea, like mentioned before, that it might take a little bit for folks to get to use it, to be part of the process, but something that we can document in terms of the reviewing our documentation and reviewing pages and elsewhere as well, so folks can read about it or know about it. So it's something that we can add as well. So
I would say with that, then the other thing, again, nice to have, but not everyone's aliases for reviews, like to tag certain groups in the SIGs, are set up well or at all.
Yeah.
And that would be a great thing to fix first, to implement first before then that tag is done,
Yeah.
so that it's easy to actually contact everyone.
Is that within the purview of SIG docs to fix?
You mean creating the groups for everyone?
the
No.
groups,
Yeah.
no.
Our group is set
Our
as
group is tight, but
yeah. But I
Yeah.
think that would need, I think we could check with Contribex if they can do it across all SIGs, like make it
Mhm.
uniform.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember the file, so we could say, could you add the other SIGs that don't have the SIG and SIG name PR reviews or group?
Yeah, because again, also the naming convention also differs across
it's
SIG.
inconsistent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I noted. I think those are some very good action items we could take a look at. Fixing the aliases first for reviews and make sure that they're set up. Make sure that the groups are going to the right people as well. And having them the same, I guess, same syntax as well, so that it's easy to decipher what the groups are. Taking notes here. So, okay, any comments or questions for this topic? All right, next one is from Drew. Drew, I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, so I think I think our release docs team can give more feedback on docs PRs to help with SIG docs capacity to review. We have the links to the content and style guides already in our handbook, so I would like to add a statement to our handbook that adds more encouragement for that practice, maybe even calls out that, SIG's docs sometimes a lot of documentation comes up in a release and the capacity is short. So this is very important and please help.
Yeah. So,
I want to extend that to release comms, because the blog team capacity is shorter. And I think having just been on the comms team as a shadow, yes, the majority of our work is concentrated towards the end, but I did some blog editing because that kind of came a little naturally to me, given that I'm in SIG docs and a chair. But I think there was a bit of unsureness about whether other shadows should do their own edits or not, like their own first pass. And I think that would actually be super helpful.
Would including a how to do a first pass review guide in both the comms and docs handbooks be helpful? Because I imagine a lot of shadows that are contributing for the first time because of the release team are kind of scared to leave reviews and question whether or not they have the authority to do it, or whether they're annoying the PR owner.
Yeah, I think it would be helpful. And I think the way to phrase it is, here is the minimum requirement of a first pass. So
Okay.
spelling, line wrapping, or something, like little things that
Yeah.
we would definitely want already kind of looked at, so that the later reviews can just focus on the tech LGTM if that's needed, or so on.
Okay.
style guide.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll write that.
Yeah. Any other comments or questions for Drew? All right. I'm gonna move on to things to change or keep for next time. but on things to change for this release, I think the post release steps could have been done a little sooner. It's usually doesn't. It's only because there was a request on the SIG release Slack to have the 131 milestone created. So I think that was requested like the week after. I think there were folks were doing some trying to capture some logs on the milestone on the milestone applier. But yeah, I think if we just finish the post release steps at the end of the week, usually the release is done on Tuesday or Wednesday. But if the post release steps can be done by before that or by that Friday, I think that will help out in the future.
I can
All
add
right,
something to
we'll need to make the handbook specify that because it currently does not.
No, it just says like post release. Yep.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah.
it's usually not a problem, but we just for some reason there was a request from some folks for that
Right.
131 milestone.
I'll take the action item and add that to the handbook because I've got a PR that I have up anyway. So
All right. Thanks, Drew. All right. Any comments or questions? All right. Kat's got the next one for reference docs.
Yeah, so the release team cannot generate the reference docs for Kubernetes and hasn't done it at least as long as I've been on the release team. So it's been at least 3 years since release docs has touched that. I don't know if they've ever touched it. Currently, the handbook just says go talk to Chiming, which is not sustainable, but also just about every release, there's a little bit of a kerfuffle with somebody towards the end of the release asking when the reference docs will be generated. And we can't do it. It's completely out of the release team's hands. And that's because, as best I can tell, it is a wildly inconvenient, difficult process that two people who don't document it know how to do. That needs to be changed because it shouldn't be that difficult, I feel. And it should be something that release docs can do. I know currently one of the limitations is that it can't be done until the release's actual tag exists, which means it can't be done until like several hours after we cut the release. So it's never like as it stands, it's never going to be done on release day. Because sometimes the tags don't exist until like 7 or 8 p.m. Or later. I think it was like 11 p.m. this time. We can't ask people to be doing that at 11 p.m. So this is not something that's fixable for 131 or maybe even 132. It's something Xander and I will have to take on. But I want to note in a place written down that this is something that the release docs team currently does not and cannot handle, but should, and it requires work from SIG docs to do it. What's up,
Yep.
Nate?
I'm just sorry, I was distracted for something else. And I remember this issue from even when I was the docs release lead. I've got a question, Ray. Is this the thing that we were talking about, like Dockerifying and making like a script to sort of run this? Is it, am I thinking of
Yeah, it's the same one. So this is for the API reference docs, KVADM, API server. I think I said that as well. So like we in the past we had the release docs team has been able to, but that was probably since like 1.20, to be honest with you, or earlier, where it was successful. There's lots of steps to do it, which I don't know. And that's the issue as well, is that it is a complicated process. The generated files have to be updated, seems like, per release. I'm just looking at PRs that were required for this past several releases as well. And it seems like the reference docs looks like the reference docs are generated like the day of, or the PRs are available the day of the release or shortly after the day after. But I think this release was a day of, but many hours later after the release.
Yeah, because right now I think there's there's Chiming, there's like I'm able to do this. I think Ray, I think you're able to do this. So you're right. It's still tied to individuals. Is this
Nate,
something
you know
we-
how to do this and you can?
and have done?
Okay, cool. Do you want to sit down with me and Xander?
Yeah, I was about to say we need to create a plan of all of our tech leads know how to do it,
Yeah.
and the release sub project owners, release team sub project owners too, Kat, actually.
Yeah, which is, you know,
absolutely.
also me, but
Also
like,
you, but also Grace is what I'm saying too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
So-
we should sit down and document how to do this and see how we can make it better. I'm a terrible Python developer, so that's a great option.
Well, that's and so to Natalie's point, I'm wondering, because you're absolutely right. It should be more like you shouldn't have to be a developer in order to do this. And I'm wondering if there's like, what process do we need to go through in order to fix this? Because this has been a thorn in our side for, God, how long have I been with the CNC? 3 years now, almost
Yeah.
4. So it's something that I think we might want to open like a cap around and say, can we get some development cycles on this to solve this sort of
Yeah.
once and for all? Because it's a pain.
Yeah.
I love the
But
cap
in the
idea.
meantime, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. I mentioned that I'm a terrible Python developer because if this is something that can be made easier by like through automation by just writing a Python script to handle some of it for us, I can do that.
Well, yeah.
So-
I think we also need just have a session with Chimeng who knows how to do this and have it recorded as well,
Yeah.
so that we could review. When I was thinking about this years ago, I thought of just creating a container image and just have the release docs team run that container image with some variables for like the release version, and then it'll create the reference docs from that. But yeah, we definitely need to have the steps documented as well, and what changes needs to be done each release on the reference generator as well. Because I've seen the last few releases, seems like there's always PR associated with the reference generator each time.
Yeah. I still think that's maybe not a bad solution, but it's just there's the doing that needs to be done. So we got to figure it out.
Well, do you want to take on the responsibility for doing it for 131 and let us watch?
I mean, yes, I'd be happy to.
We're
Uh,
expecting like mid-August.
Yeah.
The release schedule is being finalized now. It'll be either August 22nd or the week before that.
Let me just check my travel schedule, because if I'm traveling, that makes it harder, but otherwise I'm happy to help.
There is not a Linux Foundation conference conflict.
Neat. I like that you know that just off the top of your head.
That's what happens when I'm responsible for reviewing the release schedule.
So I just want to track that specific thing. So this action item is going to be, we're assigning Nate to do the release docs for 131. And with that, there's going to be yourself, Xander, maybe whoever else that is assigned to kind of learn and start documenting this. Do we want to like
Yeah,
have that
I'm giving a tentative yes here now, because,
Okay.
but like I said, let me actually look at my calendar. But I'm happy to help with this, unless there's like some weird conflict that I'm just not aware of off the top of my head, because I don't I don't have my calendar in my brain like Kat has my calendar in her brain.
I just know what conferences I run into you at.
Fair enough.
We have very similar travel schedules.
Yeah, I agree.
Nate, it would be really great if you could get back to us and let us know definitively, because
Yeah.
then I want to let Chiming know in advance too.
Well, and that's the other thing too. What I'm definitely committing to is, let's document the thing. Let's make sure that everybody knows how to do it, right? Let's make sure that the folks who need to know how to do it know how to do it. And furthermore, let me double check my schedule to make sure that I'm available to do the work on release day if we don't fix it by then, which I doubt we will. But I'm giving you a strong tentative yes. And you said, oh, you know what? This is something I can maybe even check just in real time. Let me.
All right. Well,
Sorry.
Nate is checking. Any other comments or questions?
You said mid-August?
Yes.
Either August 22nd or the week before that.
There too, I'll happily write some code to help automate this stuff.
All right. In any other comments or questions? Otherwise, we can move on to next topic. All right, next one is from Drew about adding clear documentation on how a docs lead can take over PR if the author has an emergency and can't update the PR.
Yeah, so I think that documenting that whole process would be good, just like all the Git commands and everything. Yeah,
Sounds
I'll
good.
plan to do that.
Thank you.
I will say the other thing that I would like to include in some of that too is for the docs team to be able to suggest that, let's say and this happened for sure in a great way, which is why I'm bringing it up. When there was when this happened within another SIG, the person who needed to make the changes was away, and so in that SIG, someone else in leadership just opened a new PR and took over so that work could get pushed forward instead. Even solutions that way can also be put up so that, for example, the last resort is taking over the PR maybe as well. I mean, I know that sometimes can be a hard ask, but that happened this time, I believe, I think in Node, the SIG node, and that went really well, and then they just closed the other PR, and the person who came back from holiday was like, "Yep, sorry, my bad," and understood.
I think that happens like once every other release, actually,
Right.
where a SIG lead takes over or like just opens a new PR.
Yeah. So maybe also betterment documentation of that. That is absolutely like an action we can take and ask for if we run into, hey, this person's not responding.
Just sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Shannon put in those Zoom chats, so like an escalation flow almost for unresponsive, unavailable authors. Yeah, sounds right. And Princess also put in chats, putting this for our bi-weekly branch syncs. So I was wondering if there's been any discussion about automating this process.
Yes. Using some of the release fast forward mechanics that release management uses. There is work to adapt that prow job to be able to fast forward that branch. It is still going to require human interaction at some point whenever there's a merge conflict. But that is something that is being worked on. It is not in place for 1.3.1. But there are 2 or 3 people working on that.
All right.
I want to quickly go back to what Nate has added, which is that the release is happening during KubeCon Hong Kong.
It is, but there's only going to be like 1,000 people there.
I know, but this also means that maybe Chiming is there.
That's
okay. Well,
a thing to consider.
Yeah.
I'm actually not going to. Some of my colleagues are slated to go. I'm actually not planning on going to Hong Kong, so I will be available to help.
okay.
But you're right. There are going to be some key folks who may, and so you might want to.
I know
consider-
Paco will be there, for sure. But the information I got from the CNCF is that they're only expecting about 1,000 attendees because Hong Kong requires passes for Chinese nationals.
Yep.
So it'll be small.
Okay.
But it just
Any
means that
other?
I'll
Renee?
be there. I'll be available.
All right, sounds good. All right. If moving on to the last topic from Drew, adding to the handbook about docs lead planning the review phase with SIG docs.
Yeah, I was wondering if it might be helpful to just to kind of do kind of a battle plan, so to speak. Things have been great as it is. I just wonder if maybe there's like with things like KubeCon getting in the way of that reviews phase, and I hear that doesn't happen often. It still might be nice to have the release docs lead, try to, start an intentional conversation with the SIG docs leads on like um, how we work through any obstacles.
Yeah, the last release of the calendar year tends to have more distractions with KubeCon and also holidays as well. So we've had many releases where many deadlines, docs related deadlines, have come around Thanksgiving, the US Thanksgiving holiday week. So it is something that the last calendar year of the release cycle tends to have a few more distractions, something that some docs lead have brought up to SIG docs as well because of KubeCon and other holidays as well. And so that's something that has happened, and something that we could add as well, that that'd be great to add in the handbook to plan to for the review phase with those disruptions.
Is there anything like more specific that I might want to add, like maybe more of a like sync up with SIG docs in some way? I was sort of imagining they like just coming for the status update right after the PR are ready for review. Like in this meeting, we would just like kind of have more of a conversation about our plan.
Yeah, we usually do it during the status updates of the Zoom meetings. So like 2 weeks before, just have warning for the SIG. 1 week before, I've warn it in the Slack channel. Since the SIG docs meetings are biweekly, it's not weekly. So have some sort of reminders either in the Slack channel or in the Zoom meeting leading up to those deadlines.
Okay. Sweet.
Drew, something I wanted to mention, it's not necessarily part of this, review phase in between the ready for review and docs freeze deadline. But something that I think I mentioned to Kat about that could be a nice to have is that specifically for the release day tasks that the docs lead has to do, I was thinking that it would be really good in future to understand where is our docs lead located time zone wise, so we can buddy them up with someone in the SIG docs leadership I don't know why I'm doing but we can buddy them up with someone in SIG docs leadership in a close time zone so they can work together on that day and already have that figured out early on so they know who their buddy is for the day. So that you feel a little bit more, oh, that part is kind of sorted out and I've got that person to rely on. A caveat being that unless we have someone located in India as a release lead, which has happened very recently, but it likely won't be Divya, for example, because of a time zone difference, for example. So things like that, so we can always buddy folks up. That might be a nice thing to include for some future releases.
Yeah, I really appreciated your time this release, Ray. So I think that is definitely a good strategy.
Yeah, that's one. All right. Any other comments, questions on the 130 release cycle? All right. Just one last thing. I did record the last steps on how to do things in Netlify and uploaded to. I have a YouTube playlist on release doc specific task, specifically things in Netlify that are hard to document. So it gives you a video on how to do stuff. So I recorded the last 2 videos on that. So that should be complete on the Netlify stuff that for release docs.
Are we giving them the access to do that now? I didn't have the ability to do the Netlify stuff.
No, it's not. It's for the 6 docs co-chairs or usually co-chairs. But
oh, I do know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in the past, there has only been a few folks that knew how to do those steps, so I wanted to capture those in video.
Yeah, and that's the other reason I like to make myself available for release day is because I also had access in case for whatever reason, Ray isn't able to help out with that. There's a couple of CNCF folk who also have access in case of emergency.
I learned from the videos, so that's how I know how to do it too. So thanks, Ray.
They're
Yeah.
great videos, and thank you so much for doing them, Ray. They're
You're welcome.
really good.
All right, Drew, see your hand raised.
Yeah, so I noticed that there are also videos for the release docs team. I was thinking about recording one for the for taking over a PR for an author as well. But I'm then curious, like, how do I upload that? I'm pretty sure I don't have rights to do that.
You don't.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
do it on my personal YouTube, but so this is not on an official Kubernetes channel or SIG docs channel. So it's on my personal YouTube, and I just send the playlist to the release docs channel.
Yeah.
Okay.
So how we used to upload the videos ourselves would be that we'd upload them to our personal YouTube, and then you like add it to the SIG docs playlist that way. Now we don't have to do that because we've organized the automation through Contribex. But Contribex YouTube admins have access, so we could possibly request that we create a separate thing for them to add videos to around the release process. Maybe that's something we maybe possibly want to do as a project in future.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
Yeah, but the YouTube is definitely the ownership of Contribex, so that would be who we'd ask.
Okay.
All right. Any last comments, questions? All right. I think we have about 16 more minutes. I'm gonna go through issues and PRs. So the first one is a call for reviewers for blog reviews in general. So this is one from Xander. Just asking for reviews. So folks who have some time to review, please take a look at this PR. And just some in general, if you'd like to review, we do have a need for blog reviewers as well. Next topic is there was an issue that was on Slack channel. Just to have a deploy preview for the Arabic branch. So I did add this in Netlify as well. So I've asked the author of the issue to take a look. So that was triage accepted by Sioko, and it looks like, and I've added it. So okay, looks like it's working. So perfect. So that's been closed. And Charles, who I see on the call here, has a pull request. Charles, if you want to introduce this pull request, feel free to come off mute.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Charles. I was the Shadow PR Wrangler for last week. So this pull request on the if you can go to okay. Can I share my screen though?
Let me see here. Yeah, you should be able to.
Okay. Just quickly.
While you're figuring that out, Charles, Ray, can you kick the note taker? I just realized one's on.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
So can you see my screen now?
No. Does anyone
Oh.
else see what's it?
No, but it could be, Ray, that the permissions are set up that only the host can share.
Okay. All right. Okay. So that might be the case. Oh, it looks like
Okay.
you are sharing your screen. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you see it now?
Okay. Okay, so on the actual doc, so they said interpolar affinity and anti-affinity allow you to constrain which nodes or pods can be scheduled on based on the labels of the pods already occurring on the nodes. So when I was like studying for this just recently, because I started studying for this again, this thing got me confused because it was defined that it's based on the labels of pods already running on the node. But in this example here, like I don't think, okay. Okay. Eh, okay, so I really don't understand this part fully well. So I started studying, but it got me confused. So I was wondering maybe you guys could maybe just review it for me, you know, because I was like anti-affinity, this has nothing to do with like as in you were defining nodes affinity here, not really like pod affinity. So it got me confused because they used the word anti-affinity here instead of like a way of focused on node affinity. In the PRO, I was like thinking if you just use with node affinity 2 as the second example instead of with affinity and anti-affinity. I don't know if that makes sense.
Let me take a look at this. I do remember this page, but I will have to go through the whole page to review. Because anti-affinity is often used specifically for pods so that we distribute pods in our distributed compute better. So it's instead of having node affinity, well, I'll have to take a look at the page in the context of that example. But yeah, let me take a look at it to see where clarity is needed.
Yeah. Thanks. I just started studying for certification, but I just wanted to be clear.
All
All right.
Thank you.
That'll be all. Thank you very much.
All right, I'm gonna share my screen. Looking at the clock here, 11 minutes here. Next one is from Nate. Nate about search.
I'll try and be quick. The long and short is I'm still doing research. I've had a conversation with, oh, I've lost my own. I'm gonna have to go to your screen to look at my own notes here. But essentially, I think it's coming down to page find versus Algolia. I had a conversation with Algolia last week, and I need to figure out what the current usage is. Am I on mute? No, I'm so good.
No.
Sorry, I got distracted. I need to figure out what the current usage is before I can say yay or nay on recommending Algolia. I'm kind of leaning towards recommending PageFind. I think that Algolia is good, and we're using it with a couple of other projects, but it does add another sort of third-party dependency, which is something we've run into now as potentially a problem. And PageFind, I think, fully supports all the languages that we support except for 2. And then 1 is like somewhat supported, but even out of the box, it should still be it should still support all the localization we do. And I really like it because it's building an index as we build the site, so it is entirely contained within the Kubernetes IO repo. We're not going out to do something, which I think for a maintenance thing is probably a good thing. So I'm going to one of my next steps here is to review Tim's. It's from January, so I really need to get on this. I'm sorry it's been taking as long as it has, but Tim already opened up a PR. I'm going to take a look at that, make sure that it's up to date, and look at I think Chris Abram has also worked on it. So we're going to try and see what we can do there by way of like, okay, here's a way of looking into this. Before I continue my ramble, Natalie.
Yeah, my one ask is that the updates you're giving are great. Can we have these on the issue as well? Because I know Chris Abram is not able to like attend these meetings. So yeah.
Sorry, I'll copy this over to that. I said I was going to do that last week, and I apologize I didn't get to it. But yes, this is yeah, it's essentially my recommendation currently is coming down to PageFind or Algolia. I'm not sure what we want our process to be. Like I don't want to tell you which way to go. I want to provide the information for you. would it be the chairs that make this decision, or how do we want to sort of go about that decision process?
Yeah, it would be you come with a recommendation, chairs and tech leads kind of plus one or the other, and then steering makes the decision, because this affects the entire project, not just
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's where I'm at, and yeah, I can update the issue.
Awesome. Yeah.
Does anybody have any other questions about where things are, or where you'd like them to go, or do you think there's? I've also discounted now Lunar, just because it doesn't support the language set that we do. So it's one of those things that I'm just like, and I know that there was some concern about Lunar. Are there things that you're? Well, I'll let you sort of answer that.
Any comments or questions for Nate's search?
My comment is just we can handle all the getting steering approval stuff. It's just the rest of the work you folks need to kind of drive. But yeah, Doc's leadership can help with the steering stuff.
Cool.
All right. I'm gonna move on to Ricardo's topic for a blog PR.
Hi. So yeah, I wrote a little blog. Just came up from a conversation that I had with team. It seems like we don't have enough, people doing SIGDocs reviews, which have already, kind of open source background and experience on Git and so on. So I created this blog, and actually Dipesh gave some feedback. He suggested it could go and be added to the contributed sites blog. I'm not sure if you like the writing. I'm not used to write, so sorry. But this is probably something that needs your review, please.
Yeah. So there's Kubernetes.dev and Kubernetes.io. Blogs on Kubernetes.dev tend to be for contributors.
Yep.
And blogs to Kubernetes.io tend to be for end users. And we do mirror, Kubernetes.io does mirror blogs from Kubernetes.dev. So once it's published on .dev, open a PR and we could mirror it on .io as well.
Okay.
So it can be published on both sites.
Yeah.
And yeah, I do agree. It might be good to have it on .dev first, and then mirror it, open the same PR on .io, and just have a link to the .dev PR. Then when that .dev is up, we could merge the one for .io.
Okay, so I'll just copy this into .dev.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Ricardo, I want to say thanks so much for doing this. This is really great. If you haven't already, check the style that you used of writing this against our style guide, because that'll help with some possible reviews that will come, because people will use that style guide in that reference. I noticed a couple of small things already when that page came up of that's something that's possibly different than what our style guide represents. So little things like that could be helpful.
Okay.
A huge
I
thing.
did read the style guide. So if you can comment on the PR itself, that would be great. Sorry.
No, yeah, for sure. That was just a check of, did you check it against the style guide already? Awesome.
Yeah,
Great.
could have skipped me. So I come from the Drupal community and other communities. Awesome. I actually lead the Portuguese translation on Drupal, which is quite big. But yeah, I'm very open to any suggestion, any improvement that I could potentially do. And yeah, I'll take that feedback to submit it to .dev. Would be awesome as one of my first contributions here of many, I hope.
Awesome.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to quickly move over to the discussion topic on SIGDocs leadership changes. I don't know if Natalie, if you want to take this, or if you want me to take it.
Yeah, I can quickly speak to it. So for folks who didn't read any emails from today, or if you're not part of the SIGDocs Google group where we send a lot of this information, please feel free to join. But we've proposed some new leadership changes. Firstly, Karen Bradshaw, Taylor Dolezal, and Tim Bannister are stepping back from their roles as tech leads. Karen and Taylor already have, and Tim will be very, very soon. I want to say on the recording and to the community and to Karen and Taylor and Tim, a huge thank you for all the work that they've done in terms of stewarding the Kubernetes docs. They've been great contributors, maintainers, and tech leads. They've been great mentors to many of us in the room and in the community, and they've put in a lot of work and a lot of hours into helping with docs. So huge thank you to them. But our proposal for new changes to the leadership team is that Xander and Kat, who are on the call and can likely wave and say hi, we're proposing the two of them become our new tech leads for the SIG. Folks listening to the call may have also heard that Kat is also the release team sub-project lead. So that's going to actually be really strategic and awesome as a positioning for helping docs with the release teamwork as well. And Xander's really, really cool. So I want to just say +1 to the two of them for coming on board. And Ray will be kind of like a temporary tech lead in the transition process and probably doing a lot less on the code sharing side to ease with that transition at present as well. So Ray, it's up to you if you want to stay a tech lead and keep doing both, but maybe think about it. But that'll be happening. And the last two announcements as well. I want to thank Ash Sharma so much for being our first ever new contributor ambassador. Ash came on board to SIG Docs when both Ray and myself did, as well as when we joined as co-chairs as part of the Jim Angels group of people being mentored for SIG Docs leadership. And Ash served in this role really well, and we've already officially handed on to the next new contributor ambassador, which is Shriram. So congratulations to Shriram. For folks on the call or listening in YouTube land, we have a new contributor meet and greet every month in SIG Docs. Usually towards the start of the month, join the Kubernetes SIG Docs calendar to get those invites where you can ask new questions about contributing to the project. And then finally, Depeche is joining our approvers group for the website. Depeche has done some awesome reviews, and I want to call out just the amazing work that Depeche has done in going up the contributor ladder, specifically in SIG Docs, you know, as a newbie, as a regular contributor, reviewer, and now an approver. Depeche has done all of those stages, and a huge congratulations. And I'm aiming high for you, Depeche, future tech lead in the making, in my opinion. So well done to everyone. Those are the changes.
All right. Thank you, Natalie. Any comments or questions? We got 1 more minute left. I'm going to go through the last 2 topics. One's for just call for more blog reviewers. So for those who want to review, please take a look at reviewing some blog posts. Also, the CFP for Tech Docs Con at Open Source Summit EU closes tonight, 11:59 Pacific. There's a link in the agenda. All right, and that's about time.
I really appreciate it.
All right, folks, thank you for joining
Awesome.
the meeting, and I will talk to you or see you on Slack, and see you in about 2 weeks.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.